we're here on the Scully podcast. You know that, and we've been gone for a while. You know, the Mansour Scully studio had a flood, and the flood put us out of commission for a while. It was about 2 or 3 inches underwater, and of course, we had to get the crew in there to de-water us, and then after that, you see, the problem is not really getting the water out. So anybody that's had a flooding problem, you should understand that when you have water, that's not the problem. The water's not the problem. You get the water sucked it up, and it's gone pretty quickly by this outfit called Americlean, which is a pretty good outfit, actually. Anyway, they suck the water up. That's not the problem. Talking about sucking things up, though, you see, we have in this studio, this very large, commodious studio, we have what they call wallboard, and wallboard is made out of chalk, don't you see? And the chalk absorbs what they call water.
Right.
And there's also this material called wood, and wood also absorbs water. And so what happens is, even after the water is gone, the absorption has taken place, and so the doors are a little bit stickier now. You could there's kind of a smell that comes afterwards for some reason or other. So anybody that's got flooding problems, these are things that you should be aware of, and it's always a good idea to check the sump pump. And here's the problem, though. Of course, we had not only a sump pump, but we had an extra sump pump. You see, but nobody knew the extra one went out. See, so
Right, because you don't need it till you need it. Yeah.
exactly,
Yep.
and everything was going right, and
So we had this whole house was like probably 6 to 8 inches underwater. Well, I mean basement obviously, but 6 to 8 inches underwater when it burnt down and they had to like do the fire stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the remediation was almost $60,000 to
Oof.
remediate the water and everything because I mean where I'm sitting right now it would be up to my ankle if not up my calf,
Yeah.
and it was pretty deep. But like you were saying about the smell, this has all been redone. This is all new drywall and all new floors and everything. Even after that, even when new drywall, new floors, everything, new paint, once the paint smell wore off, you could smell like the musk of it being like underwater, almost like a aquarium
Yeah, yeah,
smell.
yeah, yes,
Like it's just
yes,
a little dank. But
yeah, yes,
and
yes,
now it's
yes.
gone. It's been years now, but yeah, it's no joke. And another one to think about is you got to check your sump pumps, but also check your AC condenser drip pans, especially when it's really hot right
Oh
now.
yes, yes.
Those will overflow
I have done that
big
too.
time.
Yes,
Yeah,
we've done that too.
that
And
happened to us upstairs. We had a
yeah,
huge mark of water, and I was like, "Oh God, our ceiling's gonna collapse." And then I went upstairs and I saw what was dripping, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but
yes.
yeah,
And of
just
course, not only do you check those, but I've also been told to check myself. Yes, that's been
before
told.
you wreck yourself, is what I heard.
That's right. I've been told a number of times. And you also mentioned the fact that the water's up to your ankles. You're lucky it wasn't up to your. You see what I'm saying? Guns. This is that. This
Up
is
to my ears, of
that.
course.
That is exactly where I was going, sir. Yes. An earful, so to speak. Any rate, that was not what that's not the reason that we're here this morning. You know that, sir.
Of
We're
course not.
we're here on serious business. Actually, we are here on serious business, and we are here on talking about Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, and not so much Lindsey Graham. Some people liked him, some people disliked him. But he was a force in American politics, one way or another. You call him a positive and negative force, or in between force, or whatever. But he was. His worst critics would have to say that he was a force in American politics.
Yeah, I actually, when doing research for this, was kind of trying to look for a lot of counter, a lot of more of the left of take on him because I know that he went from being a Trump detractor to being a Trump ally after a certain
Yes,
point.
yes,
And
yes,
so people criticize him a lot for that. They're like, "Oh, look at how inconsistent you are," whatever.
yes,
Um, I do think that there's a massive difference between 2016 Trump and then the second time, 2 times he ran. I think that there's a huge
yes.
culture divide that people don't account for that would make someone like him switch their opinion on him. That's aside from the point. it was really hard to find anything that was crazy negative. I mean, people didn't like him, but it's certainly not like Mitch McConnell, where Mitch McConnell, I mean, people hate Mitch McConnell. You know what I mean? Like this guy, it seems that people didn't like him, all of them, but like uh his record is pretty good. You know, it's kind of like a Biden. You can disagree with everything that he did, but you know, he was a loyal public servant. You know what I mean, for quite some time and did his job. So
Yeah, it surprised me when he talked about the fact that he changed his mind on Trump. But then again, when you say that, Rubio changed his mind on Trump.
that's what I'm saying. There's a huge culture
Yes,
divide
yes,
there.
yes, yes. So you know, there are a lot of traits that Trump has that people find not very likable. But that's different. Traits are different from things that you do. And so anyway, getting back to Lindsey Graham, the thing that kind of bothered me was and this is something in politics right now that I find very bothersome is there were these idiots, these nincompoops that crawled out from the woodwork and they rejoiced in the fact that he was dead. You could see the gleam in their eyes, you know, and they were, you know, and there was no doubt about it. They were jubilant. They're wonderful. He's dead. You know, I'm glad he's dead. And so you know, I looked at these folks and I thought to myself, there are a couple of things that came into my mind. Who were these people? Well, my after doing some copious research, I come up with the conclusion that they were nobody. They were absolutely nobodies. They had they had achieved absolutely nothing. There was and they were kind of these people were kind of in their basement, you know, and they had the phone in front of them.
Whoa! How did hey? Whoa!
Yeah, right, yeah, and, I had, yes, oh yes, oh yeah, that's the popcorn. You got to, I see what you're saying, sir. It's, yeah, this is no laughing matter, so we've got to examine ourselves closely on these matters. But anyway, so that it kind of bothered me, and then when they talked about him, you know, nothing made sense. You got some of these people. You look, what are their credentials? Well, of course, they don't tell you what the credentials are, and your suspicion is that they have none. Uh, and when they criticize them, they have no real criticism. You know, they'll come out with something like fascist, oligarch, you know, baby killer. I don't know what else they come
Well,
up with.
no, that's exactly what I was saying. Is when I was looking to find some substantive things. Like again, there's a million things that people hate Mitch McConnell for. You could find a million things for that people hate him for.
Yeah.
There's like very few people hate him for flipping to liking Trump, really. But like other than that, he's kind of a military guy. He's kind of like more of like a defense guy, anyways. And those guys kind of, I feel like, for the village idiot, which is kind of honestly like the people who comment on the internet and interact with the internet most of the time. That you like, you know, hey, I hate this.
Sir, eat it, sir.
He used to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're consuming this podcast, you're totally good. But if you are on the computer all the time, you're the village idiot. Like I hate to tell you, that's what you are. You have a mobile over your head and it's spinning, and you're going, wow, you know, like that's what you are. You know, and it's no big deal. It's totally fine. But that's what you are. And so when you're evaluating someone who like it or not achieved, I think that there's only in sports discourse do we get to say the quiet part out loud. In sports discourse, when Chuck starts talking to Shaq about what a team should do in the finals, he goes, Chuck, you ain't got a ring though. You don't have a ring though. So who's got the rings though, Chuck? And then the reason is because if you haven't been there, how can you evaluate someone who's trying to go there? You could say, I've seen other people do it this way. That's fine. But when you're evaluating someone, one for one, as if like this is what I would do in this situation, well, if you haven't been in the situation, shut your mouth. You know, like I would not be one to tell Verstappen how to make a pass. Oh, you should have passed on the inside there, Verstappen. I don't know what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, of course not. And so people do the same thing in politics. Oh, I would have done this if I was a congressman. I would have done this if I was. You would have folded at the first $100,000 check a company offered you. Don't you stop. You sit on the computer all day consuming. If you had a way for you to continue to do that and pad your pockets, you'd be over the moon. So, people dancing on a guy's grave. It's the same thing when Charlie Kirk died. Like Charlie Kirk, dislike Charlie Kirk. You're a weirdo. Like, you are parasocially involved with the internet to a degree that you're celebrating the death of another human being for what? For what? He that was his 40 hours a week that you're evaluating him on. He has an entire other life, a family, like people. You know what I mean? It's just so devoid of of any reality. I guess is kind of their take. Anyways, sorry.
Well, yeah, no, that's right. Now, one of the things that you talk about people that they marshal facts to help the cause, and so sometimes those facts are actually go against them, but they will skew these facts in a certain way. Now, the thing that was kind of unsaid, but everybody kind of had the idea that it was true, was they said that Lindsey Graham was gay, and that was pretty much out there. You see, now these same folks that are saying, that has this LGBT crap going on, and men should be boys and boys should be men and girls should be who the hell knows. But and all this stuff is good stuff. You got to get yourself changed. You got to you got to get some hormones into you. All this stuff is good stuff. You see, but with Lindsey, this is serious stuff, you see, because you see, and so it's very salacious that this guy was gay, don't you see? And nobody ever, it didn't prove it. And if he was gay, he was kind of gay. It wasn't kind of out there in your face kind of gay.
Well, and because he was the thing, I literally what you're talking about. I saw a comment on this morning. Someone said the party that's all LGBTQIA plus or whatever, those guys are like using gay as an insult, and it's like, I'm calling you gay, but because you hate the gays, you'll think that gay is an insult, and so then I can use it as an insult. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's hey guys, is that not the whole logic around why you don't use the N-word? Is that not the like? It's like I'd hate to take it to the extreme, but like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing, right? Like, that's the whole point. It's like, when you've decided that something is just straight up serves no use other than to be hurtful, you just take it out of the zeitgeist,
Well, of course, and speaking about hurtful, this is some years back, but I had some children, this, and you know what they would say to me? They'd say terrible things like, "Oh, Dad, you're gay." I was shocked at this, but anyway, that's what they would say. And it wasn't a one-time thing. They would say this almost any time I said something. Dad, you're just gay. I mean, and so I had to accept the fact, and there I am. So anyway, so I guess we got the gaiety. So let's see. So that was one of the things that they talked about. Now, another thing they talked about was he's one of these guys with he's representing the money classes. Yeah, don't you see? Money class. Well, you see, now Pelosi is worth millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Yes, and our friend Bernie's worth millions. Bernie's worth millions. You see, they're all trying to get because the rules don't actually apply to them. And a good reading would be Animal Farm to kind of get an idea as to who these people are. But anyway, so but when this guy died, this guy that was in favor of all these he didn't have hardly anything. All he had was some mutual funds. That's all he had. I mean, Mr. Big Shot, big senator, going to these places throughout the world, doing all sorts of different things. He had very little comparative to Did he
A
go
net
to
worth of
Memphis?
$1.5 million. Now, Bernie Sanders has a house worth double that.
Yes.
One of his houses. And again, that's not like he's a bit. Not, I don't care that he has that. Fine, whatever. Use your thing, whatever. I don't care. But like to admonish,
Yeah.
Mr. Big Money Guy, and Big Money Guy retires with like a honestly modest, amount.
Yeah.
He was still working up until the day he died too. So it's not like he was like sitting and burning through some whatever. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I actually, I admire him for that. That he really, he's not investing in the stocks. He's not getting any advance notice about some big stock thing, and immediately telling somebody in his family to invest in it quickly. He that wasn't him. So
Yeah, Lindsey Graham was worth $1.4 million, but his wife, she's
yeah,
for 10 billion. No, but that is exactly Pelosi, right? It's like
no,
maybe
yes,
Pelosi's not worth
yes.
individually as much, but her husband's stock portfolio is literally what the like half the market goes off of.
Well, yes, we won't talk about that. Certainly, if he's driving, get off the street. If I get that, yeah, get off.
Him or Tiger Woods.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you'll get hammered. Well, maybe that's not the word. That's not the.
I think
Yeah, I believe he was hammered, wasn't he? He was hammered in a number of ways. Yes, yes. Yes, well, that's another story. So anyway, so then so then he's a guy that comes from affluence, you see, and he's a guy that had all the advantages. That's another thing that they come up with. Well, of course, he was born in a war. He grew up in a one room bedroom apartment that was behind a pool hall restaurant, bar. That's what his father had.
sounds like some classy digs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was, of course, the first guy that graduated from college in his family. And this is where the guy came from.
Well, and it really can't be. You can't speak about it without saying it. He also went to college. First one in his family to graduate college. Became a lawyer. And what did he do when he became a lawyer? Went and was a lawyer for the Air Force. And he served in the Air Force as a lawyer for 6 years, moving up to the officer corps. Again, you could. I honestly, I have no time for people who really hate the military because it's not the individuals in the military whose fault it is that things are bad. You know what I mean? Like it's just wrong. Like you don't get to choose. The soldiers don't get to choose. They just have to do. And I think honestly, becoming a lawyer and going immediately and taking it to or maybe he did it some program where he got his degree while he was in the service, whatever have you. I think serving with the degree is pretty cool. Like it may not be everyone's thing. I don't think you're bad for going private sector, but like that's a good thing. That's an honorable thing. It should be, at least in a successful society. You should be like, wow, great, thank you for serving. You know what I mean? Like I always done the military discounts, and people are like, I'm amazed. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe you do a military discount. I was like, my shop is 15 minutes from the biggest air base. Like, how could I not? You know what I mean? Like, you're like a huge part of our economy. Like, how could I not acknowledge? But anyways, point being that he did take his time to do his service too. So wealthy, what have you, anything like that. He was public servant from the jump.
Well, then here's the thing. This is another thing that's very, very aggravating. You see, of course, these same folks, they yelling, jumping up and down. The system is against us, and I can't do this, and I can't get anywhere, and it's almost impossible to get ahead. And see, they don't like this guy because, of course, he is the American dream. He's a guy that comes from nothing, nothing. I mean, how much more disadvantaged can you be than being born behind and being raised in a pool hall situation, not having any money, not having anybody to back you, and to actually to figure out that maybe your best shot is to go into the Air Force, which he did. He did for 6 years, and then he stayed with the military in one way or another, with the reserves or with the National Guard or what have you, and he actually retired eventually as a colonel. So I mean, he did all right. And actually, even then, when he was in the military, he was eligible for a pension, but he couldn't get the pension because he was serving in the Congress. So that anybody else that was not serving in the Congress and had the same amount of time as he did would be getting a military pension, but he couldn't get one, see, because he was in the Congress. And so, I mean, the guy was not without his flaws. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about him, and that talks to the issue. But the fact of the matter is that this guy is a guy that basically, with very little behind him, with very little backing, he managed to claw his way pretty much to the top. Yeah, that's to me that's admirable. It's a guy, and here's another thing which really which surprised me. So his dad, when he died, I guess when his parents died, he was I think 18 years old or so. He was in college, I think, at the time. But now this is clever that he goes in the air, he goes in the military, and he adopts his sister. He adopts his sister, so now he is the parent of his sister, and as the parent of his sister gets medical, which of course otherwise she'd be out there in the cold, you know. So he's a guy that's kind of been used in.
Well, and in my research, or briefly, I didn't read it because it's not what we're talking about today, but I saw that his sister is now wanting to, I don't know if it's literally to repay that favor or not, but it says that she wants to take his Senate seat if they would possibly consider it, putting her up for it.
Because no, she's right now. That's what happened. I don't think she has any intention of going with the seat, but she's. I guess I forget what they call that right now. But a person who is kind of kind of is
like a placeholder.
A placeholder, and so the governor appointed her as a placeholder until I guess it's another year, a year and a half until the election. And so at the end of the election, then of course you're going to have a number of people trying to get that position. I'm thinking Nancy Mace may be one of them, but there's a number of people that are going to be trying to get that position. But his sister said that basically, and here's another thing you got to say about the guy, that he was her brother, her mother, her father. He was all these things, and he raised.
And probably a pretty decent friend for her to be around his life this long too. And that's almost more important, not more important, but that's almost at the age that they were more important than any of the other things, is to keep in contact with your relatives consistently like that. It's sometimes an uphill battle.
Yeah, no, and she had very, very fine things to say about the guy. So, that's really some of the things that I was thinking about. The other thing was, see, I mean, the thing that he gets criticized for is that he was a hawk. And of course, you would think somebody that's been in the military for 20 years, I suppose that's what you would expect. But he was very hawkish, and of course, they didn't like that. So, and that's what. So I was just kind of reading that, and I think his sister said something like, "He's like a father, a mother, a father, all rolled into one." And so that's what she said about him. And yeah, so he was on a number of these committees and he was always kind of pushing for involvement, particularly with Iran. He pushed, and I think I'm kind of on that same page. I was kind of shocked with the fact that Trump, he kept on backing off, given these, we know who these people are, and kept on backing off and say, well, we'll try to make a deal with these folks. You're not going to make a deal with these folks, and I think that I think that Graham was more on point, knowing that.
Well, I think that the problem in the Iran thing, and the reason Trump's doing that, is because, well, there's two reasons I think that Trump's doing it. One, because it's really bad for his presidency, continuing to be in the war, having prices raised and stuff like that. It's just optics bad. So I think he doesn't want that. But I think the other thing is that I said this like months ago too, when we were talking about it. We're not gonna win. Like we might beat them in the submission, but we're not gonna like win. Like they live in like mountains and like like little like pockets and valleys. You know what I mean? Like it's not this terrain is not gonna be roll tanks up the front of their capital city and knock it down. Like they can hide indefinitely. That's why Persia has been such a good stronghold for you know 2,000, 3,000 years. So I think that part of me is that Trump's advising is basically like, hey, we can indefinitely do this, but tensions with Russia and China are only like mounting. And like if we continue to stay in here and we like don't like resoundingly win, like what do you think you know what I mean? Like what do you think happens? If we have to pull out, leave all of our military gear over there, it's just more terrorist cells. It's more of the same that's been happening since what, like, you know, Desert Storm and stuff, like when they, we make a vacuum and then we get Al Qaeda, and then we go in and we deal with Al Qaeda. We make a vacuum, and then we get ISIS, and then we go in, get rid of all them, and now we're gonna have can't remember the name of the ones in Hamas. You know what I mean? Like you have, I know that's Palestine, but like you just have these endless carousel going on, and I think that he's trying to avoid that. Is really his big thing. He doesn't want his legacy to be Iron Man's, or not Iron Man, sorry, Iron Man's, like, new, what's it called? Iron Man, jeez, I'm it's on the brain today, but, Iran's, military to be so advanced, or their terror cells to be so advanced, and it's because of like, hey, look, oh, those are Trump planes that they have, oh, those are Trump's tanks, that, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's largely a managing optics and fallout thing that he doesn't want to be in there. I think that, Lindsey Graham or someone else is just like, hey, just go smash them. You know what I mean? It's kind of their take, but
Yes. Well, of course, there's nothing. We don't have any. We don't have any kind of armaments over there, because everything we've got no ground troops there, and everything has been done pretty.
well, we have the base right across the water, right? In Abu Dhabi or Dubai or whatever it is on the other side of the thing. Yeah.
We have bases. We have bases all over the world. Of course, we have bases all over Europe and so on. So, of course, but anyway, that's pretty much my take. It was my take on Lindsey Graham. I don't think there's anything.
Well, I think it goes without saying too. Is so he is that you can feel how you feel about him as a person, or about him as a politician, or him as whatever. But as a person, most people seem to say that he was a good member of their community, and that he cared about them, and that he was a valuable part of their life. And I think that what gets lost in all these things, especially when you're on the other side of the aisle, is this is like a dude. You know what I mean? And he was not that old. He was born in 55. So,
Yep.
this sucks. Like the same thing I was talking about before we went on air about Stacey King in Chicago. It was very much the same way. The morning when you wake up, they're there. That later this bowl season, we're gonna get to see what we're gonna see what Stacey King has to say about the new Bulls. And then the next morning he fell and hit his head or whatever, and he's gone. And it's the same thing with Lindsey Graham. One morning it's like, I wonder what he's gonna say about Iran next time he gets to go on. He had a strange illness and was dead the next day, and those things to us, you get them as news, and every death is like that when it's news, when you have this parasocial, relationship with whoever it is that passes away. But it's not like that for the individuals around that person. It is for his wife a world stopping thing. Maybe even in her mind, her life has ended in a certain way. As kids, it's terrible. Everyone knows that someone's gonna have to go, but when they do, and especially when it's sudden, it's not easy. And to be dancing on someone's grave, where their wife and their kids and their grandkids have to see it on social media and doing all that, we've gotten to like a really bad place. And we talked about this when Kirk died. On the thing, it's two team sportsy, man. Like again, if the Eagles lose the Super Bowl to your team, making fun of the Eagles fan as he's crying walking out of the stadium, it's kind of funny. That's fine. Making fun of the child Eagles fan who's crying walking out of the stadium is not funny. It's inappropriate. And so we need to find that line in social media that you could say, okay, now we have a chance to get another seat, or oh man, good riddance now, or whatever. Even good riddance is a bit far, but whatever. But to be, I mean, literally dancing. Like I could pull up a million TikTok videos of people like dancing because Lindsey Graham's dead. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're like sick. Like these people are sick people. Like I would never. I have people in my personal life that I really don't like. I would venture to say I might hate some of these people. I don't know that I do hate anyone, but like they're they're close. I would be so angry if I was like, hey, XYZ person died, and someone was like, hell yeah, no, it's not a celebration. You know what I mean? Like have some respect. You know what I mean? Like, no, this is terrible. It sucks. But I mean, all you're granted is this one trip. So if I'm granted this one trip and it's gonna end, we all know it's gonna end. That's pretty much the only certainty. I don't know what's after it. I can have my own faith reasons and I can have my own beliefs and everything like that, but I have no fucking clue. It's the unknown. I'm not celebrating anyone going into the unknown. You know what I mean? If I knew it was great, then I would be whatever, but.
Yes. So it's like it.
No.
Anyway, yes, no, that's right. Well, so that leads us into another area. He was very against a lot of the Muslims. Yes. So, do you knew, sir, that I was on the continent? Did you know that I was traveling afar? Did you know that, sir?
Yeah.
Well,
I did know that.
I will tell you, this is something that occurred. We were at the ticket counter, and there was this Muslim guy. He was at the ticket counter, and there were 2 ticket agents, and there were probably 30 or 40 people waiting. And this guy, he took up the time of one of the ticket agents about 35 minutes. He was very, very. He was no hurry to get anything done. Very, very. And it turns out that this guy was not even on a flight.
Of course.
He wasn't on.
It were.
He was just. He was talking in favor of these 2 women, I suppose, with the hijabs on and everything else, and they had these 4 children with them. And so, at any rate, going to the children, there was this one child there. It was unbelievable. This kid was screaming. I mean, he had to be 5 years old, 4 years old, and he was screaming. I don't mean screaming like a child. I mean screaming like a maniac, like ah. And this went on for...
Like you're being an animal.
Like an animal, yes, like an animal that was being beaten or something. This went on for a half an hour. All right, well, fortunately, they got on the plane. That's the good thing. They got on the plane eventually, you see. But unfortunately, they got in the seat behind us.
Ah, there it is.
Now but it wasn't enough that you had this little kid that was an animal. You had these other children that were egging him on. That the rest of them were going up and down the aisle of this airplane. Now with everybody else, you say, yeah, please buckle your seatbelt. They came and they said to these people, you got to control your children. Well, that landed on deaf ears, and the children continued doing what the hell they were doing, and they did it for the entire flight. And so, these are the folks. And when we're in the airport, they have these places for these folks to do their daily worship.
Yeah, this is gonna be a bit. This one. Follow me on this one.
I'm following.
I think that stuff the like praying that I need a specific place to pray. I can't pray in a chapel. I can't pray at my seat. I can't do whatever like a Christian. A Christian can pray wherever. What is it called? Not rabbinic, but the Jews. I think a labuv, something with an L, and a Jewish person will be able to tell me, and they would know. But they wrap this cord around, and it has these like blocks on it, and they pray with that.
Yes,
They pray sitting next to me at the airport, same place I would pray at the airport.
Yeah.
I think that it's almost like a uh colonialism of thought and spaces and culture is these specific mosque prayer rooms have to face this direction. Again, pray to your God. Pray any direction you want. Pray any way that you want. Like, for example, if you remember at Louis Pizza at Cape May, they would always, twice a day, they would have a time where they'd stop and they'd all face the direction and they'd pray. I have nothing but respect for that. As a matter of fact, that's like one of the, even though I'm Catholic, that's one of the like most foundational things in my life that made faith seem cool to me, was these guys who I thought were so cool that ran this pizza shop doing that. So I'm not saying that it's bad to pray or do whatever. I think it's the fact that they have to have a different place to do it. The women all have to be in the hijabs and look the way that they look. All of those things I feel like are colonial. It's to make it so that now you don't get to live in a world where you get to be like ignorant of that culture. And that's okay, I think, by the way. That's the thing that people miss. I don't think I have to know everything about every culture. I don't think every culture has to know everything about me because I don't care. Like, it's no, you know what I mean? No big deal. But like, the idea that you have to walk past a place that, the only other special places in an airport is a smoking section. And that was because smoking was like totally fine for most of human history. And then it became like, oh, shoot, this is not so great. But like, so you have a smoking section, you have a dog section, you have a place to breastfeed and change babies.
Yes.
And that's it. There isn't another thing. There isn't anything else. There's not chapels. There's not, whatever. But there does have to be a prayer room. I just feel like there's some sort of like, I don't want to say like thought police, but there's some sort of like ideological colonialism going on there where it's like, we're going to make what we do omnipresent and seem so special and so like sacred above everyone else's sacred, and we're going to like browbeat common thought and the zeitgeist into like basically tying that to morality. And so like I'm morally bad for being like, damn, I feel bad for that guy's wife in a hijab in Las Vegas. This is literally something that happened. I have a friend who's Pakistani, he's brown, and he was talking to some of our white friends, and he said, man, I think that stuff's crazy. She should not be wearing that. That's like a traditional, like a fancy garb. Why would she be in that in Las Vegas heat walking around outside? And they got mad at him for being racist. And you're like, dude, he's Islamic, man. Like, he's the guy who is the authority of our group that can say that. And people got on him. So like, it's just been tied throughout. It's a I hate to say like a psyop and sound like a schizophrenic, but like it really is like this, like, you just change these tiny little pieces over time. And then you get to a point where now it's like even saying black. Like if I'm like, hey, that guy is a black guy, people will be like, ugh, I don't know if I would have said it that way. Okay, what do you want me? Can I say African American? Oh no, that's offensive because he's not actually African. He's an American, right? So that's offensive too. Okay, what do you want me to call him? Hey, seventh generation Libyan. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? Like, we can just get. He's a black guy. I'm a white guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally fine. And so we've lost so much in these social battlegrounds because like conservatism largely has kind of like ruled for at least my lifetime. They've lost so much in these like social battlegrounds because so many people were like, I love to be socially liberal and fiscally conservative. That was like the common group thing for all of time. Well, we lost so much ground in the social liberal space that you can't like speak to people anymore without it being like they're waiting for an opportunity to jump down your throat and be like, hey, you actually said that wrong. Hey, you actually did that. And so anyways, I feel much the same way. I don't think be a white guy, be a black guy, be a Muslim guy, Asian guy, I don't care. bad kids off flame, that's annoying. You know, like the females being treated as less than, always walking behind, not allowed to talk to people. Not, I think that's whack. Sorry, that's my opinion. You know what I mean? And hey, guess what? Like, I hate to be that guy. It's more my country than it is the immigrant coming in. So like, you feel however you want to feel about it. And that's totally great, and that's your right as an American. Straight up, is feel however you want to feel about it. But I don't care. If you come in and your wife's not allowed to talk to me, you know, I've had it come in. If someone comes into my shop, the guy is doing all the ordering and the wife won't talk, I'll turn and look right to the wife and directly ask them questions. I don't care. Like, your culture doesn't matter to me. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because my culture doesn't matter to you. You know, that's the way it works.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. I mean, I think that I this country basically has had a history of people assimilating, regardless of who you. And if you don't want to assimilate, you don't want to be part of the country, then get the hell out. You know, I kind of had enough of these folks coming in here, ripping us off, particularly these Somalians coming
Oh
in
yeah.
here, ripping us. You know, I guess we will get to this part. This Nick Sherry, are you familiar with this guy?
Mhm.
You know, I was looking up his background. He is just a high school graduate.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what he is. And he's a high school graduate and he's got a phone. That's what he's got. And so he does something, and to me, this is a guy that comes out of nowhere, and he does something which he uncovers billions of dollars worth of fraud, and he's considered to be. They say he's a racist.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, he's a racist, and these people sit.
So's Tyler Oliveira, right? So's Tyler Oliveira, who does very much the same thing. He's just he's so racist. He's so racist, you know?
And well, you know, and I grew up in Flushing, and they just went over to Flushing, and they found that the same things going on. They had the millions of dollars are going into this program. And they find out that they had a couple people inside of this place. They played pinochle or something like that. That's what the millions of dollars were going for. You,
Well, I mean, don't you know they you know, need new tables. You know, you need new shoes. The people at the top need a new G wagon. You know what I mean? Like, what are we supposed to do?
I know.
Yeah, you know,
And
it's
so
expensive to live in Flushing.
yes, yes. Well, but I guess the point is we're getting ripped off, and you dare not say anything about it. I mean, you know, it's just I just don't get it. Where you know these and what's happening is you're being penalized for doing the right thing. And so, you know, it's just getting back to like a guy like Graham. You're being penalized by going about it the right way. So if you go to work every day and you're making if and you kind of scraping by, you got to buy yourself some life. You got to buy yourself some medical insurance. I mean, you don't buy medical insurance, then of course you're not going to be able to go to see a doctor. Now,
But if
if you
you're
have
making sick rap beats at home and just chilling, maybe smoking a little weed from time to time,
yes. That
buddy, we got the healthcare for you, man. And here's the best part about the whole thing, right? And I saw, I don't remember which YouTuber was doing it, but he was doing man on the street interviews, and he was like, he was like, you guys are for lower taxes, right? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, okay. How much of the tax base do you think the bottom 50% of Americans provide? They're like, I don't know, like probably like 60%, 50%, maybe 20%. It's 1%. It's 1%. 1%. One. That's how much the bottom 50% of people contribute to the tax base. And taxes, I don't like, trust me, I have to pay taxes on my business and myself, and I'm a 1099 guy, so it's always annoying. It's always a pain in the ass. I hate paying taxes, okay? I do. That said, taxes are like literally the blood in the veins of the country, right? That the tax money is something that is necessary to make all of these social services that the liberals love so much to, you know, have them work. So if the top 50% of people pay 99% of taxes, And it gets crazier because it's like the top 1% pays like, I think the top 1% pays like 50% of all taxes or something like that, if not more.
A lot.
And so it's like, and again, I'm not saying that those guys still probably couldn't get taxed a little bit more aggressively, or like corporations couldn't get taxed more aggressively. I'm kind of for some sort of like I think that if you're a company that doesn't directly benefit Americans like all the time from every point of your sale until it goes overseas to be an international product or whatever, I do think you should be taxed pretty aggressively. Fine, whatever. Point being that the people who are complaining all the time and for what we're 45 minutes into it, so I can say people who are just bitching all the time, they don't contribute anything to the system that they're asking changes of. And then, like you saying, you're being caught. So Lindsey Graham, who sees something wrong with the system, his own perspective on it, he goes and works hard and becomes a politician so that he can affect legislation, he can affect change, blah, 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 blah. He's worse than the person who sits in their basement and makes TikToks, not hating on it, but the person who sits and makes TikToks about how the government can change theoretically and how they... Dude, I get it. If you're 16 and you have political opinions, first off, you're an idiot because you don't know anything. But, fine. That's great. Go to school. Go get some sort of accreditation. Doesn't have to be a degree. Go volunteer in your community. Go work as like a paralegal or something like that. Go, you know what I mean? Go figure out something. Go volunteer at a prison. Go work at a prison. Go do whatever. Figure out your way that you want to enact change and go enact the change and then come back and lecture me. But it doesn't go cart before the horse. It doesn't go the other way around. You don't contribute 1% and have done nothing materially in your life that is at all considered even service, and then talk about how morality is the thing that like guides your life. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, I'll go a step further. Once a week, pulling up at a soup kitchen, feeding people is awesome. That's awesome. That's so cool. It does not make you a good person. It does not. People hide behind those things.
Well, some of them do it, but there's not that many people do that either. But here's something that occurred to me. You said that you have 50% of the people paying 1% of taxes. Now, those 1%ers, they go to the polls, and they will cancel out the people that are paying the taxes. They'll cancel them out.
Yep.
Now, if you have somebody like a guy like Mandami that says, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff for nothing, these same people that are paid no taxes, if you have one of these guys, just one of these guys, one of them goes to the poll, he has his vote counts as much as Musk's.
Yep. Which again, there's beauty to that too. Of course, that is the American way, right? There's beauty. We're all equal, whatever. But I and maybe it's because I'm in a different place in my life. I would have disagreed with myself several years ago. I would disagree with the take I'm about to say, but like, it has to afford you for something, my guy. Like, it has to do something. Like, there's no way you could be bringing, $1 billion a year of industry into the country and your voting power is the same as like a guy who does like meth. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to think that those two people should have equal political opinions. That said, I don't know how you change it without being like a tech oligarchy or something crazy.
Well, in the founding fathers of this country, basically what they said is the only people that had a vote were the landowners. And the reason for that was because they said, if you don't have a dog in the fight, well, then, of course, you got no vote. Well, of course, that was a pretty hard line. There's no doubt about that. But there is a rationale to that thought process. I'm not saying that it's right, but in other words, if you don't have an investment, it's sort of like when you the difference between owning a piece of property and renting a piece of property. If you rent a piece of property and you don't have to pay for it, you say you're on some type of assistance.
You can just come to my house. I mean, you can look at my neighbor's house and you can look at my house and you can see what my owned house looks like. And you can look at what my neighbor's rented house looks like. I could tell you which one's nicer. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
not trying to be an a-hole either.
No, and so it does. And so, of course, if you ruin the other house and you leave, you didn't pay anything for it. You leave. You got no investment in it. You leave. It's the guy who owns the place who's got to fix the place up. But that's so it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you have somebody who is the producers are working for the non-producers, and the non-producers can insist that producers keep on working to to facilitate them. So in other, you're going, and you're paying tax.
Yeah, it's communism for me, not for thee. That's absolutely what the thought process is.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
if we all pool our wealth, no one would have to work, right? And then 4 seconds after we ratify that into law, like the person who's at the top is gonna immediately figure out a way that they can have more power and more control. That's exactly what's gonna happen. And then you're gonna go to work, and you're not gonna have a choice on your job, and I mean, I don't even, communism's one that I have to talk about ad nauseum because I got a bunch of young kids that work in my shop and they always like think these things. And I'm like, just find me a place. Just find me one time it's ever worked, even at a company. Just find me it. It's never worked. It's never worked. It'll never work. So,
Well, the problem is that usually, like with the capitalist system, if you go out and you're working, say 60 hours a week, you're working and you put more than that, you get just you advance, you advance. Whereas if you're in a communist or socialist, that doesn't do you any good. So you don't work any more than anybody else. And so, how do you advance? The other criteria for advancing is how do you kiss up to somebody? Do you sneak in? Do you? And so, even in these communist countries, like a place like Cuba, they found out that the Castros, they had millions of dollars stashed away. They had these places that they went to that were outside of Cuba, where they lived quite well. And so, as a result, what happens is you have these folks that basically have contributed nothing, and they're telling people what to do.
yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
talk-
Well, and also remember this. It's also all bullshit. This stuff about the modern, like how bad it is, like the idea of making it so that landowners, or even like, let's say landowners plus, like, you know renters who, like, you figure out a way to give renters a vested interest, like have some sort of like investment account that pays dividends if you like live in a certain town or county for a certain amount of time. There'd be creative ways to do it, and I do think that would be important. I think renters, there's plenty of people who rent for good reason. They don't
Sure,
want to be here for a long
sure.
time. Maybe the math is different for them. Maybe the rental property is just gorgeous and they're hoping that the person will eventually sell it to them, so they rent.
Well,
That's
but
not who we're talking about.
but but you're talking about people that pay the rent. You're talking about people.
Exactly. I'm right. I'm not talking about Section 8, because Section 8, no disrespect to someone who's on it, because plenty of people have been on it. I mean, my dad was on it, right? There's plenty of people who've been in that situation and gotten their way out of it. Plenty of people who've been in that situation, and it's really not no fault of their own. I get that. The a Section 8 person is not a voting base that is going to have the same vested interest, at least in local politics, as someone who owns or long-term rents, because those people have to deal with other people who don't care. You could be the best Section 8 renter ever. Your neighbor could still be a piece of crap. You know what I mean? And that's just, and it's not because they are worthless or worth less, inherently less, because they're on Section 8. It's because, the low income behaviors are like, it's a soluble trend. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can just like see like where these things happen, where crime happens, and where whatever. Anyways, so what I said is all bullshit though, is people would say, oh well, you can't make it all homeowners because then Gen Z's don't have a place. So Gen Z has 17 to 27% of their generation is homeowners. The oldest possible Gen Z is me. I'm January 13th, 1996. Now, I would say I'm a millennial. I was conscious during 9/11 and, grew up kind of in a little bit more of a of a millennial, but like a Gen X millennial type of upbringing and stuff like that, just because like I had like you guys around and my parents were, younger, so I kind of did more of their type of stuff, whatever. Anyways, a million reasons. So I would consider myself a millennial, but I'm as old as you could possibly be and be a Gen Zer. So you're telling me that by 30 years old, 27% of our generation owns homes? Doesn't really sound like that's that big of a crisis, because again, only the oldest ones can be 30 years old. The youngest ones are like 18, So of course they don't have homes right now. So a quarter of our generation has homes. So it doesn't sound like that big of a crisis. Now, here's where it gets busy. Millennials, 55% of millennials own homes. The majority, 55%, 12.5 million households. That, it took a little bit longer, but what people forget, and this is recency bias, is just so detrimental to online discourse. 2008 crash happened. So yes, the housing market was completely fucked for honestly a decade and a half probably after that, where it was still, things were recuperating values, other things had gone astronomically high values because neighborhoods that were once good neighborhoods became bad neighborhoods because of blah blah blah, foreclosures, lots of vacant houses, all that stuff, whatever. So the ebb and the flow is not being respected here, and when we're not watching the actual big trends, we're evaluating off of like knee-jerk things and BlackRock buying homes and all that. 55% have homes. The oldest they could possibly be is like 43, is the oldest millennial, like 43, 44. 55% of people before they're 50 own homes. I don't know who is deluded enough to think that you're just like granted to own a home at like 25. It's not a thing. Like there's plenty of other generations where it's not been a thing. But like the idea of a home ownership being, or land ownership being such a high bar to vote or something is crazy, because it's obviously showing you, the trends are showing you it's correcting. Over half of each generation, except for Gen Z, but they're younger, has homes. It's just it really is unfortunate, because people get in this what's called a doomer mindset. It's everything's bad. Everything that Trump says is bad. Oh, Trump has an announcement coming. It's going to be bad. This is going to be bad. I'm never going to own a home. I'm never going to do this. And then when you get that seed in your head where you're like, I'm never going to own a home, that means that you're never going to have a job good enough to get a home, and you're never going to strive to have a job good enough. That means that you're never going to build a community that is worth, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all of these things that cascade downwards when you get in that doomer mindset of like, oh, everything is bad because it's bad for this person talking on the internet, or because it's bad. It's really not that bad. I mean, I hate to sound like Caleb Hammer, because sometimes he can be a bit boisterous, but I like him. I like his take on it a lot. We have the most the most disposable income of any generation of people ever. Our baseline life is, I mean, you were born in 1945.
Yeah.
How much have you seen change?
My God, you've given that away, so I was telling people are only 52, and now everybody knows. Oh my God!
You've seen so much changes. I mean, and so in that year, they would have been, like cars were just getting to the point where swoopy and the headlight in the fender was like super common now. You know what I mean? But like a Deuce Coupe was still probably someone's daily beater, even in that era, like a 35 Ford or something like that. You know what I mean? 30, whatever.
Well, I mean, no, in that time period, you were lucky if you owned the car. You're lucky if you owned the car. There's only one car to a family, and that's what you had. So, and many people did not have it, and you were reliant on public transportation, which is so today. I mean, today is is much different, and there are good and bad points about that. The bad point about it is everybody has a car. Everybody has a car. I mean, the poorest people have cars, and so as a result, nobody uses public transportation.
So right.
Well, I mean, if more people use public transportation, the roads would be less busy. You'd be able to get to work faster. You'd be able to get home faster. You wouldn't have to pay as much money for gas, for automobiles, for insurance. Really, when people say, "Well, I've got to pay $5 or $6 to get on a train to go into Chicago. Well, that's true, but by the time when you figure out the cost of owning a car, the cost of paying for the insurance, the cost of paying for the gas and so on, the cost of having a garage, a house, that you're paying a lot more than $5 for trip, and there's no. But people like their cars, and so that is a downside. But the fact of the matter is, we live better. The worst of us. I heard this the other day. The worst 5% in our country. The worst 5% in our country live better than 95% of the world's population.
Absolutely.
I mean, so well. I mean, there's problems. I think the problem is a lot of times you can have it too good. You can have it too good, and as a result, you have it too good, and so you look around for things to make it seem as though it's not as good as it really is. But and so there has never been a society that has lived as well as we do. Never has
No, absolutely.
in the history of the world. And yet, people will look at this society and say, "Oh, it's a terrible society," and we've taken away we've taken away this land from the indigenous people. We've been terrible to other people. We've been mean to different groups of people. It's absolute nonsense.
I mean, remember this. This is the thing that, again, because people don't play the metrics game. They don't just like sit there and just like, oh, how many of these people are actually this? How much of this is this? 22 out of 10,000 people are homeless. 22 out of 10,000. 745,652 is the most recent count. 266,000 of those were unsheltered. 479,000 were staying in emergency shelters and transitional housing. So the 266,000 who are out on their own, we don't know how many have cars, and we don't know how many are crashing at this person's place or crashing at that person's place. And I'm not to act like homelessness is an easy thing, but to act like this is, like we're not living better. There's under 1 million homeless people in a country of 310 million or whatever it is, right? Like, come on. Here's another one for you. Actually, it's over 310 million. What percentages of people do you think have smartphones? Sorry, not smartphones. Phones. Cell phones.
Yeah, probably 90% of the population.
97% of the population has a phone. Now, how many do you think have smartphones? iPhones, Android, whatever.
Probably 50% of that.
91%. Only 6% of people don't have a smartphone, and only 3% of people don't have a phone, period. Okay? So you have the internet in your pocket. You have the access to anything, to create videos, to create a podcast, to record something that you love, to just use it to research and better yourself. You have college courses you could take on there. You have a million. You know what I mean? More processing power than landed on the moon and shot every missile in every conflict and every. You know what I mean? Like unbelievable processing power in your pocket. Okay, so now, all right. Of the adult population, okay, how many people do you think have access to, or what percent do you think have access to the internet?
Probably 60%, 70%.
96% of people. And so that's the psyop, right? Is when they tell you there's no voter ID. A voter ID is racist because black people don't have IDs, or this is whatever because people don't have access, or that. It's crap. It's crap. It's the same thing that you get from the other side all the time. Let's legislate off of individual percentage points the entire rest of the country. People have access to the internet. They have smartphones. People have clean water, generally. Obviously, there's definite humanitarian disasters in places like Flint and stuff like that. But, people have access to beyond the basics in America. I mean, you can get a phone for free. You can get internet for, damn near free at this point. So, it's just that the floor keeps raising, and people keep complaining about how low the floor is. And even though it keeps raising, and so it's not like it's ever going to reach a point where they're like, you know what? Hell yeah. I make $30,000 a year just sitting at home because that's the universal basic income or something, and I have a phone, own a home, I have internet, you could give all of those things, and people would still be like, yeah, but he has 2 homes, or he has a Lamborghini, or you know what I mean? It just never ends with these type of people. And so, like, kind of for me, my thought process on it these days, which might be a little cynical, but it's just like, I don't even treat it as like real. I don't even treat it as words. It's not even real when I hear these people complain about this stuff. I just like, okay, like, I'm not saying that people don't suffer. I'm not saying that things are perfect here. They're not. But the way that people talk about this country, you would think that you know what I mean? Like, you would think that we're one of these European countries. I go to Italy, I can't get cell service to save my life. I have T-Mobile, which is supposedly an international company. The internet is dog water. The AC is like third world. Everything about the place. I mean, it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. It's a gorgeous, amazing place. Love to end up there one day. But like, Italy is vastly closer to a third world country than almost anywhere I've been in America.
Sir, I believe the mafia has already got your name, got your location, and your ass. Your ass is about to be known as what they call grass. So I don't want to frighten you or anything, but I think the hit is on, and so Michael Corleone, you've heard of him.
I have.
Yes. Well, I think that's it. And so anyway, so I think most of the problems have been solved now. I can't think of any other problems that we have.
Almost none of them have been solved, but they have all been ignored.
Well, yes.
Which is my theme of today. We just gotta start ignoring the crazies again.
Well, I now dare I disagree with you, sir. I'm talking about I see in our society, I see growing pockets of people that are dangerous, and I think
That's
that
true.
to ignore them, or just let them take their course. And I'm thinking, as we talked about these different parts of the country where we're being taken advantage of, we're having massive fraud, we're having crime, and to ignore these folks is to do it at your own peril. But I guess that's a subject for another day. Is there anything else? Mr. Tony is over there. I think
I say no, nothing from my end. I gotta be careful what I say. It's Pierogi Fest next week.
Mr. Pierogi, he's ready for Pierogi Fest. And Mr. Pierogi is not a participant here. He's neither pro nor con. You see,
I'm Switzerland.
He does not endorse the political views.
he doesn't say that they're wrong. He doesn't say that they're correct. But he is Switzerland, which is a little bit better than France. France waves that white flag before the battle begins. You see, Switzerland, they'd never get into the battle. That's I.
Well, and I think to be honest, to the reality is any political view that someone has that you don't like, unless their political view is like, hey, we should kill all blank these people, or hey, fuck everyone who does this, whatever. Absolutes are suck. But when you're speaking about political theory, I'm theorizing. I don't know. I'm not a government official. I'm 30. I don't know the world better than anyone else who's around my age or whatever. I know the world better than a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old. Sorry, guys. I just do. But like, other than that, I don't know the world better than like a normal adult. And I have my opinions on things shaped by my reality, and you have your opinions shaped by your reality, and everyone else should have opinions shaped by their reality. And if you disagree, have the conversation. And if you don't disagree super strongly, you don't have to have an opinion on it. Be like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. That's fine. You know what I mean? Just pick the things that matter to you. If you think abortion's the biggest problem, then go and make a good case for why it should be legal. Go and make that good case. And if you think that, and not saying it shouldn't be, to be honest, but like, go find that case. If you think environment's the most important, go find that case. I mean, I will give Greta Thunberg a bunch of crap especially because, her family's rich and they, sail around the world and do all this. And so it's like it's kind of performative activism. It's champagne socialism in a way. But I give her a lot of respect too, though, because it's like exactly that. Like if I'm gonna sit here and let something like rot my brain where I'm like thinking about the environment all day long, I'm not gonna sit in a Reddit chat room. I'm gonna go out and make it my thing, and that's all. So just like be interfacing with people face to face.
Well, one thing you said about Greta Thunberg, you may not have a problem with her, but I do have a problem with her barber. I do. I do.
He could do a better job. He could do a better job.
He could do a better job.
Man, we know plenty of Swedes and Norwegians and Finnish. Their hair doesn't look like that. They could do better,
That is right. They could do better, and so she refuses to do better, and she jumps from project to project. At any rate, I think, and so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm still waiting for Billie Eilish to give away her house. Remember, you know that what $4 million house.
They're running down those gates. They're gonna come and get it.
Very cool. She said that basically all of Los Angeles was on stolen ground. Don't you see?
Hey, but start with your house.
But she was on particularly stolen ground. Her stolen ground was more stolen because she was particularly stolen from this one particular tribe, and they know who it is, and they're saying to her that give it back.
But the Indians are so cool. I love. They only arise to
Yes.
smash people's perceptions of things. You know what I mean? Like the Indian. I don't know if you remember when the Cleveland Indians logo got changed. Same thing. They were like, I didn't care. I thought it was fine. Like after the whole fact.
Yes. Well, this thing with the thing with the house there, I think it's only right that they be given back.
Just return it.
But the one good thing about it, there's one good thing about it. You see, she got up there and she made this proclamation, but she's been thankfully very silent recently. We've not heard anything from her recently, and so that's
that might be enough of a gift to us and the Indians.
Exactly. And so with that, on that note, silence is, there used to be a song out there. It's called Silence is Golden. And I agree with that. Silence is, remember what peace there may be in silence, sir.
I used to say that every time when we would go to the movie theater at Showplace. It would say, silence is golden.
That is right. That is right. And so on that note, having broken the golden rule, and now you do have a job that you're supposed to perform now at the end of the broadcast. Is that true, sir?
I do, yeah. So this has been the Scully Sez podcast, episode whatever it says beneath me. We are on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music. Find us, enjoy the podcast, give us feedback. You can email me at scullysezpat@gmail.com or scullyseztom@gmail.com. We'll read those things and we'll use your feedback. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.